Awesome. Okay, guys. So this demo is for my Guitar 2 class, who is going to be working on fingerstyle guitar this week. And I will also post this video in Google Classroom for you. Sorry, today's been a crazy day, so I'm going to go ahead and get tuned real quick. And then we're going to go, if you want to follow along, I'm looking at page 24 in the Guitar 2 book today. That's where I'm starting. I am going to look ahead a little bit at some of the other stuff that you guys are going to have to do this week, but starting there. Let's see if anybody joins here. Okay. So if you look at page 24 in your book, it is starting to introduce you to fingerstyle guitar. It's also called finger picking. And you're going to learn the super basic things with finger picking this week. So the first important thing to know is that the way that your fingers are labeled is going to be different. We've talked a lot about like 1, 2, 3, and 4 fingers, and now we're going to start labeling things a little bit differently, and you're going to see that labeled differently in your tabs too with letters. And so it's going to go the letters P, I, M, and A. And it's Spanish words for the different fingers. So pulgar is thumb. That's going to be your P. Indice, index finger, is an I. Medio, middle finger, is an M. And anular, ring finger, is an A. So P, I, M, A. And as you're learning the different patterns of finger picking, you're going to see those letters appear underneath your tabs or underneath your notation. Okay. So right hand position, this is all about what's happening with your right hand. Your left hand is going to be forming notes and chords the way that it normally would be. Your right hand is going to have an interesting job, and it's going to be different because you're not just going to be loosely holding your pick and working from there. You're going to be using all 4 of your fingers. We don't use pinky finger for finger picking, okay? Very rarely anyway. You might very later on, but not right now. So right now we're only concerned with 1, 2, 3, and 4, P, I, M, and A. Okay. When you approach your strings, instead of approaching with a pick, you're approaching with naked fingers. So you want to imagine that you have a ping pong ball right in the center of your hand. So the hand position is going to be a little bit different because it's a little bit more rounded than it would be with a pick. Okay. It is also important to not rest your fingers on the strings or hold on to the strings. That's good for getting set and then move away. Don't fall into that bad habit, okay? So if you look at number 49 in your book when you watch this video and follow along, it is starting with a very basic chord structure. So we're going to play our D major chord. So I'm going to first finger that D major chord with my left hand and get my fingers in place. Now, because it's a D major chord, I'm going to start thumb almost always in this style of finger picking. We'll start with the root of the chord. So since I'm playing a D chord, I'm going to play D with my thumb, and I have open D strings, so that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to play D, and then I'm going to play my next 4 following strings with I, M, and A. So it's going to look and sound like this. Okay. And then that pattern just repeats itself for 49, so it happens twice, and then the measure repeats. So that first measure would sound like this with the repeat. Okay, those eighth notes, right? Then it switches to an A7 chord, so I'm going to move my fingers to my A7 chord on my left hand. A is my chord, so I'm starting with the root of my chord in my thumb, which is going to be my open A string. Okay, now this one is a little bit tricky because I'm going to skip over my D string. That's not in my chord at all. I don't need it. And I'm going to play the bottom 3 nylon strings with I, M, and A. Okay, so I've got my A string, my G, B, and E. Okay, so that second measure with the repeat would sound like this. Okay, and then it moves to a G chord. So I will finger my G chord with my left hand. I'm going to put G in my finger, and in the G chord, we know that our third, your second finger here, excuse me, is playing G on your E string. So I'm going to play my low E string for my bass, and then I'm going to still play those top, top sounding nylon strings. So my G string, my B string, and my E string. Okay, and then I've got a G here. So that third measure with the repeat would sound like this. Okay, so all of 49 with the repeats will sound like this. I've got D chord first, so remember I'm starting on my D string. Here's the repeat. Here's A7, starting on my A string. Here's the repeat. And my G chord, starting on my low E string. Here's the repeat. Okay, and then if you want to resolve that, because you know how I am, go back to your D chord. Okay. So for this finger picking pattern, this is the simplest of all of the patterns. It's a simple P-I-M-A. And for all of these, the base of your chord, or whatever the note of your chord is, so if it's a D chord, D, if it's an A chord, A, if it's a G chord, G, is going to go in your thumb. And then your next 3 fingers, I, M, and A, will play only the nylon strings, your G string, your B string, and your E string. Okay? If you look ahead to Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, which is on the following page, on page 25, that is the pattern that continues. So you're starting with a D chord, and then it switches to G, and then we've got a switch halfway through the measure to A7, okay? Then we're back to D. The song apparently. Then we're back to A7, back to D, to G, and this has a mid-measure switch to A7, back to D, mid-measure switch to A7, back to D, okay? And it continues on basically with that same pattern. If you look at the very last measure of this piece, it's bringing you back to your thumb to end the piece for the very last measure is just a whole note D in the melody. So you would play starting on your D string, you would play your P, I, M, A, and then P. So you're going to come back to your thumb. So that measure, without me talking over it, would sound like this. Okay. Remember keeping that ping pong ball shape inside your hand as if you're imaginarily holding a ping pong ball inside your hand. All right. So I'm going to keep moving on. I don't know who just joined because this is terrible, but I'm going to keep going. So I'm moving on to Scarborough Fair for anyone who is watching. This is page 26. So this is where the finger picking pattern starts to change a little bit. I'm going to take P, I, M, A, and then I'm going to bring it back down to M, I. So all I'm doing is thumb, index, middle, ring, index, middle, index, excuse me. Okay, so just straight up and back to the index. All right, so I'm going to finger my A minor chord first. Okay, get it in my left hand. My right hand is going to start on the A string because it is my A chord. Okay, so that's always, remember, going to be in your thumb, whatever the chord is that you're playing. So I've got P, I, M, A, M, I coming back down. All right, so that's it. It's just straight up and back down. So I've got an A minor chord. That happens for 2 measures. Keeping that ping pong ball shape in the palm of my hand. And I'm switching to G. So I'm going to my low E string with my thumb where the G lives. back to A minor, to C, use that anchor finger, and the root for C is going to be on my A string, A minor, back to my, still on my A string for my root note, D to my D string, A minor, back to my A string for my root note and my thumb, continues on. And those same chords continue on. Okay, the very end of the piece, the very last two measures, I've got that pattern, and then I'm coming back to my thumb for the final measure of the piece. All right. So those are the first two pieces with the warm up of 49. Okay. I am going to probably post a video later or try to go live one more time for 52. 52 is on page 27 in your book, and that is one of the, I believe, one of the options for your playing test this week. I lied. I think I said 50 or 51 because 52 gets a little complicated. So 52, the finger style accompaniment changes to a new pattern that we haven't talked about yet so far. And then it also involves two new chords to you. So I will probably do a separate video on that later this week and be on the lookout in Google Classroom for that information when that video is coming. Maybe like Thursday or tomorrow if I'm feeling really ambitious. We'll see. So if you have questions, please make sure the chat for some reason isn't working right now. But please, I'm going to post this video in Google Classroom as well. So feel free to comment directly on the video in Google Classroom or shoot me an email or shoot me a message over Google Hangouts. I'm happy to answer your question. Google Hangouts also has a really great capability where we can video chat straight in Google Hangouts. So even if you just want to video chat with me and I can walk you through that a little bit slower, or you can put yourself on the video and I can tell you if you're doing it correctly or not. Let me know. For some people, this is like a really easy, quick pickup thing. It makes a lot of sense. I personally prefer this style of finger picking, especially for accompanying other instruments or singers. But for some people, this is really confusing, and that is okay. And because we're not in a setting right now where I can physically be sitting across from you and be letting you know if you're doing it correctly or not. If you have questions, please reach out and please spend some time practicing this. You will also notice throughout Google Classroom that I have changed your practice logs. Instead of 20 minutes a week, I'm asking for 40 minutes a week. I know that seems daunting and it seems like a lot of time, but you don't have your typical 10-20 minutes of classwork time where normally I would just say, work on whatever you need to work on for 10 or 20 minutes. So please practice every day, even if it's only a couple of minutes every day, because we're going to keep plowing ahead. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to keep moving ahead and we're going to keep making music. So that is what you can expect. All right. If you have questions, drop them to me and I will see you guys later.